Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of Manhood Academy podcasting. I don't even know how to use the term correctly. Podcasting. I'm podcasting, and this is a podcast. So here we go. We're going to talk about, the things I want to talk about today are I want to make sure to cover social interaction. I want to definitely make sure to cover the Manhood Academy ebook, and we will get to that in a little bit. I just wanted to basically cover some of the things we're going over today. And it was interesting, we're enjoying the chat room feature, the new chat room feature, kind of messing around with it. And basically, okay, I'm clicking on it right now. We got about, 5 people in here. We got Plum, we got High School, we got Franchise, we got Dope, we got Victor. So these are just some of the cast and characters that visit the chat room. And basically, this is to practice your expression. And of course, we get a bunch of curious onlookers every now and then. And 2 or 3 today happen to be women, happen to be feminists. And they came in to argue their philosophy or, agree with some of the things we were saying and eventually disagree, as women are apt to do. And we really encountered, I guess, the gist of the limitation of the female capacity, which is problematic, especially in the reasoning capacity. Like, we would basically present an argument, give all our points, cite reasonings, cites and evidence, etc. And the women just simply have a fundamental problem following the argument. It's like you have the bouncing ball going and they just can't follow the bouncing ball. So it creates all kinds of problems because it's like you're trying to basically explain calculus to a little kid. And the little kid, of course, can't understand calculus, so they're turning around and blaming you, saying you're too dumb. Look at you, you're not explaining this concept to me, when really the problem is the little kid can't grasp it. That's, and then these women typically turn to their victim speeches. I'm presenting a rational argument, blah, 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 and because you're threatened by a woman, just these like silly, ridiculous, nonsensical arguments that just have no rational basis. There's no presentation of any evidence, any support. It's just like thrown out there like it's a given, like it's an axiom or something. And just women are just prone to do that. So they're oftentimes just not even invited to the argument. I like, for the sake of, fair play and equality quotes, I like to invite them to the argument and at least give them the chance to participate in the argument. But more often than not, I just find women are just too stupid to follow the argument. And they revert to the same types of silly, token female arguments. You're being mean to me. You're using ad hominems, logic and truth, and basically using your mind. Using a rational argument is considered an ad hominem. Just basic general silliness. So they didn't last too long. They were just kind of hanging out, basically trying to sift through what we were saying and just basically not getting the point. So then they went for the big guns. They went all in and they pulled out the small dick argument. You don't agree with us, so you got a small dick. We've cataloged all these arguments on our site. Hold on a second. Let me go find them. Okay, so in the academic probation section, we got a post called Cat Herders Rejoice. And we basically cover all the feminist arguments. Feel free to tell us we've got small penises. Please remind us we'll never get laid. Laugh at us for living in our mom's basements. These are just like the typical bullshit arguments. They're just like so fucking retarded and cliched. You're little boys. We're intimidated by successful women. We're rapists, we're prone to violence, blah, blah, blah. Lack of income, just the silliest argument. So she whipped it out. She whipped out the atom bomb, the feminist atom bomb. You got a small penis. Your pee-pee is small, therefore your argument does not work. That, in chick logic, her argument makes perfect sense. In the real world, that's where you get excused on the table. That's like when the adults are talking, you go, okay, shh, honey, it's time for your bedtime. It's time to tuck you in and put you to bed. That's where she needed to go at that point. So we stuck a fork in her. She was well done. We turned her over, put a little barbecue sauce on her, and got her ass out of there. We've also got another lovely post in the academic probation section called Feminists Speak Their Mind. This is just a collection. This is for the Smithsonian for all of time, for posterity. We got feminist arguments in Polaroid form. So you could see this is like a lab. Actually, this is like a zoo. Basically, we got all the feminists, put them in their cages, and now we can see their arguments without them like running wild all over the place and eating small children. So the first one we got is Kelsey Cole, who coincidentally wants to do violence to small children. She says, "Well, I can tell you that when I read the Principles 101, I was so angry I wanted to punch an infant." So already Kelsey is training to abuse her future child when she becomes a single mom. She'll be there ready to kick him right in the teeth. And next we got one from Caitlin Cass. "I have been made aware of Manhood 101 and felt the need to see it with my own eyes. Anyways, I was reading their value systems and forum posts and was simply getting more and more enraged." She's about to turn into the Incredible Hulk. I don't know how she controlled herself. It's amazing. Her control is amazing. Next one. "For me, it becomes a kind of not defeat, but giving up on arguing with someone who is not intellectually responsive." Yeah, the problem is, you dumb bitch, you can't even form an intellectual argument. Your argument, all feminist arguments basically say, you're wrong, you're dumb. They don't give any reasons why. They just say you are. It's just a because I said so argument. It's like the epitome of retarded reasoning, pretty much. "When you state clear, precise opinions to someone..." What clear, precise opinions? I missed all those. Where are they? "To someone, and they respond with calling you the C word." I know, it's so shocking. Do you say the D word when you see thousands of references to douchebag on feminist posts? Do you ever say the D word, or you just say douchebag? Exactly, you dumb bitch. "You realize your words are falling on deaf ears." She needs a headbutt. Okay, next one. "Some people should be shot." This is pretty clear. I like how whenever men even vaguely imply, I remember this one guy, he implied that their ideals were being raped by the truth or common sense. And feminists just ran away with it, had a field day. He's implying we should be raped. They can't even they can't even reason effectively. They can't even see this word, this term was being used in a certain, in a figurative context. Like their argument would be rape, not that they would start being raped, like he's advocating rape. But here, they have no problem saying, "Oh, you should be shot," like literally shot. And, feminists are always saying, "Oh, you're abusing us with your language. You're committing violence against us." Isn't this violent? Just a hunch. Being shot, saying we should be shot, advocating our death, that's not violent? Okay. "Holy shit, this motherfucker pisses me off. I'm normally not a violent person, but I don't think giving him I started out, a blank, blank, blank star would be out of line." So she's advocating something so violent, it's been starred out. Nice. Of course, men are the violent ones, right? Meanwhile, feminists are advocating violence against us. "If these internet misogynists dared to actually behave the way they speak in Manhood 101 to the nearest woman to them, they'd get beaten to the inch of their lives." Yeah, you mean like Snooki? You mean like how Snooki stood up to that guy's fist and totally obliterated his fist with her teeth? She damaged him. "Have their computers smashed, dragged out of their bedrooms or basements, thrown out of the house and disowned by their mothers." This is the epitome of feminist delusion. They always imagine themselves like stomping women. Meanwhile, in real life, it's either Snooki getting her face punched or like on that How Can She Slap video, that chick getting her bell rung and her head going around at 360 from a slap. That's pretty much the reality of... I think we actually posted a video of two chicks trying to beat up a guy. Like, in the feminist dream world, they're probably like, when they first saw the video, like, "Oh my god, these two chicks, they're going to devastate that guy. They're going to get some payback on that guy." Meanwhile, of course he's a guy. It's not even a contest. He just beats the fuck out of both of them. So chicks are just in such a delusional world because emasculated males have legalized emasculation and create a situation where now the police will arrest you for daring to even blink your eye at a woman. Women are under this delusion now that they actually have power. In these women's minds, they actually think they can beat up men. I mean, it's just silly. "Enjoy your hands, mouths, anuses, everybody on Manhood 101. Lovely. "Because that's the only way you're ever going to have sex. Ever. Another common cliched feminist argument. If you don't agree with us, you're not getting the pussy. Basically, she's saying I'm a whore. Do what I say. You pay me the right amount of money. Give me the right amount of compliments. Agree with me. You can get the pussy. See this? Even this woman here verifies. Women use their vagina to get what they want. Never let chicks like this tell you they're not whores. She's definitely a whore. She's saying, look, you play my game. You get the cash. You give me the resources. You do whatever I say. You can get the pussy. But if you don't, you'll never get it. Because that's the only way you're going to have sex. Ever. Oh, I'll just have mind-blowing sex with my girlfriend, whom I have absolute respect for. Oh, this is a mangina. Wow. Okay, sorry. I had the wrong voice. Let me get my emo kid voice. It's totally different than the chick voice. I'll just have mind-blowing sex with my girlfriend, whom I have absolute respect for. Women being equal is the best thing ever, and you know it. Manhood 101. Shame on you. Okay. Sweet. Feminism damaged the proper... Okay, the quote notes, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Basically, you have completely misunderstood feminism, Bubba. No, ma'am. I don't think you've even I can't speak now. I don't think you've even begun to educate yourself on what feminism really is. Again, feminists, complete fucking morons, just make these blanket statements with no evidence, no support for their point. Just, you have completely misunderstood feminism. Bubba. The extent of her argument is Bubba. She's put no thought into this, just made a blanket statement. Not even bothering, not even having the intellectual integrity to state specifically how we misunderstand feminism. It's in women's minds, it's just enough to disagree. According to chick logic, disagreement equals they've made a competent argument. Fucking retards. Okay. So this guy is all about being a super manly man. Super manly man. I wonder how much he benches, or if he goes to the gym at all. My money is on super skinny nerd. This is one of the worst cases of overcompensation I've ever seen. Yeah, the problem is, dumb fuck, you haven't seen anything because you're like most retards that associate manhood with machoism, with lifting weights. Again, another Kmart education, another Walmart education. Another mail-order diploma speaks again. I wonder if he's for abortion clinic bombings because only sluts murder the children of real men. These utter jumps in logic. Retard. These are retards. Anyone else want to hazard a guess as to his dick size? Oh no, not the dick size argument. I never heard that before. I'm going with slightly above micro penis. Wow. So basically this is just like a wall of fucking retarded female nonsense and emasculated males throwing in. The problem is they think they're being original, but basically we can write their arguments for them. We don't even need them. We can basically make little sock puppets with like boobies, or we actually have to, if we're going to make them representative of actual feminists, we'd have to use really, really fat sock puppets stuffed with pillows, and then like short little Dutch boy haircuts and just like angry faces with like little cats, little sock puppet cats around, and we'd sew them to the sock. And then we basically go through their arguments for them. We'd present our rational argument, and they'd respond, your dick is small. You live in a basement with your mom. You know, just the typical cliched feminist nonsense bullshit. What can you do? Okay, so let's move on. I wanted to cover some of the links I came across today, which is originally what I wanted to do. I want to break it up into two sections. I wanted to talk about the links, and then basically go over the ebook and some basic things like expression. Let's see here. Let's look at our first link. Okay, this one comes courtesy of the Frisky. It's called Andrew WK was a teenage stalker. Okay, originally, how did we come across the Frisky? Because no man in their right mind would be caught dead on Oprah.com, thefrisky.com. How the fuck did I end up here? Well, it was by proxy. CNN, basically, I just jump over to CNN every now and then to look at news items and whatnot. And I remember there was one article posted by, who was it? Amelia McDonald Perry, the editor of the Frisky, just basically bashing on men, some nonsense, right? So I went over there and just made a little post saying, this is just fucking silliness. What, are you kidding me? This is just like a male bashing article. And of course it's banned instantly. So I didn't think much of it. I was like, okay, who cares? Chicks babbling, right? So, CNN used to be like a news organization, news magazine, but it's slowly just been taken over by feminists and feminized to death. It used to be like, you'd see news items. Now you see the top news items are, you got gossip items. You got John got Kate and John +8. You have, there was something about emotional sluts today. It's just like the silliest, most ridiculous. Let me just jump onto the site here and see if I can find an example of what I'm talking about. I mean, one day I was just looking and I thought this is just got to be a just a fluke or something. And then I started circling items with I took it over to Photoshop and started circling items like things that are just definitely blatantly feminist or just chick oriented, and like the whole page was just bleeding red with just chick nonsense. And how can you tell you're looking at a feminist page? Well, there's telltale giveaway signs. There's always going to be like something about an Amber Alert, something with lost children. Nancy Grace, her fat, fugly face is just going to be plastered across that magazine. Opinion, man killer trail of triumph in some beast lady's picture. You got, let's see here. Teen turns pain into giving. A bunch of inspirational chick stories. And they did this especially during like the Fort Hood shooting. You know that joke where they gave the chick credit for taking down the Fort Hood shooter when really it was the guy, just doing his job, not taking credit. Who got credit? The chick. Instantly, without any verification, no evidence provided, just instantly. And who jumped on that? CNN, like a motherfucker. They were just, this girl from Fort Hood, one of the officers, she took him down, blah, blah, blah. Like just inventing a fucking fairy tale. It was basically another Jessica Lynch story. Jessica Lynch is, of course, the woman who was given credit for, doing some heroic deeds with her military unit when, of course, no substantiation, turned out to be totally false, just fabricated stories just to boost up the presence of women in the military. So you can see whenever these feminists post things like this or have them on their newspaper, like the CNN feminist rag, cunt news network, basically, they're just basically trying to put a female presence out there, like women are doing so much more than they're really capable of, or so much more than they really have done. Classic example, Jessica Lynch and the Fort Hood shooting, just total debacle. Issues like teen girl girls plead in bully suicide case. I mean, this is front page news. It's just silliness. Mark Kerrigan indicted in dad's death. I mean, it's like gossipy news. This is like news for chicks. It's just like the whole page has changed. It's become like so visual, and they got the fancy little graphics, and just it's just become a feminist mecca here. Like if you're in Islam and if feminism was the equivalent of your Islamic religion, this CNN would be Mecca. You'd be basically praying on your prayer mat towards the CNN webpage. That's pretty much how bad it's gotten. Okay, let's look at our next link. Oops, wait, I haven't even covered our first link. Okay, back to Andrew. Andrew was a teenage stalker. Okay, the reason I grabbed this one is because guys are, because of feminism, because women have shot themselves in the foot, guys are facing a dual dilemma today. On one hand, it's normal guy behavior almost to get, I don't want to say obsessed, but to be infatuated with a girl too, to kind of treasure the thought of a certain girl. Like when you're a guy growing up, you're in high school, you're in middle school, you're growing up, you see girls around, you're like, oh my God, that girl's so beautiful, she's so hot, she's so amazing. And you kind of develop this little fantasy in your head about the girl, like you dating together, you of course fucking each other's brains out, you holding hands, you skipping stones and frolicking along, in a meadow somewhere. So this is kind of like your typical, teenagey little emo kid fantasy of, what you're going to do with your first girlfriend. And because of feminism, this has totally been twisted and warped into an entirely new concept called stalking. Stalking. Okay, granted, there are legitimate stalkers out there, guys who are hiding in the bushes and whatnot. But even that is a result of emasculation created by feminists. Feminists have emasculated men to the point where they can't get their sexual needs met. So basically they've created a climate of sexual starvation. It's like if you normally have access to 3 meals a day and you're fine, you don't give a second thought to eating. You just eat as a natural course of events. But if you're starved, if you're put on a desert island and you only have access to Ritz crackers, or coconuts, or, just some small little token meal, eating becomes an obsession, because eating is a necessity. Any necessity that isn't addressed properly becomes an obsession. Like if we were suddenly for whatever reason, able to cut off your air supply, like 50% of your air supply, your mind would start dwelling on breathing, ways to breathe better. How can I get that oxygen in greater quantity? What's a technique I could do? You'd start reading medical magazines about how to increase your lung capacity. What are cities you can move to where they have more oxygen in the air, etc. So your whole life would start revolving around improving your breathing, because your necessity is being touched, your necessity is being cut off. So in the same way today, the feminist climate is creating a situation where guys no longer can get their sexual needs met. They can no longer get companionship from women. It's such a competitive dating environment. It seems like a fucking no-brainer. Like, as a guy, you like a girl, so the whole fucking reason you're talking to her is to sleep with her, to have sex with her, to form a companionship with her, to get in a relationship with her, to take care of her, right? All these things all go together. But women, because of feminism, they've been forced into a competitive position, not only just in the workforce, but women carry that over to all areas of life. They think that when men are talking to them, they're in a competition with these men. Like at a bar, you go to a bar, you talk to a woman, instantly she's in, what do you want? Defensive, not just defensive, but guarding against, why you would guard against a rapist in a bar where there's, you're in public is beyond me. But anyway, women are just naturally on guard, right? When they're in the bars and they're just defensive. But when you start speaking to them, even, I'm social and I can speak to women without problem in a bar, but even then you get in this kind of competitive conversation where it's like they're trying to one up the guy. Like they think that the purpose of a guy coming up to talk to them is to have some kind of mental gymnastic conversation. This is not the case. The only reason this guy is coming up to you is because he likes you. He thinks you're hot. He thinks you're attractive. He finds you visually appealing, sexy, whatever. And so he wants to say hello. He wants to initiate this kind of courtship, this kind of mating ritual, whatever you want to call it, so that he can get in your pants, form a relationship, be intimate with you. That's his goal. That's why he's talking to you. That's why nerds talk to you at school. That's why, that's why guys volunteer to do things when they don't get any reciprocation back. They actually are hoping for reciprocation, but they're too emasculated to care about their own expectations, their own needs. So they give away, they try to address female needs and don't get their male needs met in return. So you'll see this happen, and commonly guys will pay for dinner. I just heard on the radio, this guy, he was just throwing out fun facts about his date. Like they were just, oh, no big deal, just a total expectation, right? So he went on this date with his girl, and they asked him, oh, so how much was dinner? How much you spent? He was like, oh, yeah, with the wine and whatnot, it was like $100 or to $150. And I just instantly, I wanted to put my head through the windshield. I'm like, you fucking idiot. You spent $100 on a first date on a dinner? And this was like, to him, he was just talking about, oh yeah, I was just chewing gum. To him, he was talking about a normal everyday event. But, I mean, if he had stopped for a second and used his brain and thought about it, he would be shooting himself. Spending $100 on a girl you just met, who you don't know if you're going to have a second date with, who you don't know if it is interested in you enough to invest yourself emotionally in you, and you're already spending $100 fucking plus dollars on her, you are a fucking nutcase. You are. This is the state of men today. Giving everything, all their resources, time, money, energy, attention, and getting nothing in return. This is the typical picture of a emasculated male. So I thought this article kind of perfectly epitomized it. Women today are taught by feminism to shoot themselves in the foot when they're dating. Women, just like you, want to find a guy. They want to get into a relationship. They want to be taken care of. That's their natural female instinct speaking. They want to get into relationships. Like, there's another article today. It was about one night stands. The editor Amelia talked about, I don't want to get in one night stands. When I have sex, it's an emotional bond for me. And that's true. When women have sex, generally speaking, if they're not damaged goods, they're not dysfunctional, they haven't gone through like 20 different relationships where they've been through the ringer. But if you just take a girl, like a virgin, or a girl who hasn't been in that many relationships or hasn't been, totally screwed over by guys. And you get her opinion on sex or how she views sex. And we've even gotten these on camera. We've gotten this answer on camera countless times. We've been doing interviews with girls. They basically view sex as an emotional attachment, expression of their love for you, for a guy. So if women are having sex, it's because they eventually love you and want to get in a relationship with you. Given that this is a normal course of action, not like you're a guy who could smoothly get sex on the first date, but just assuming you're taking the normal time in a relationship. You're in a typical relationship time period. That sex, when it happens, is going to be expression of her love for you, her appreciation, her emotional attachment for you. It's not going to be like a guy is, where that sex is kind of a driving urge, a driving need, an immediate concern. Like Tom Likas says about sex, it's like you have to take a pee. You can only hold it for so long. For guys, it's like taking a pee. You ideally you want to take it in your house where you have a nice clean commode, nice bathroom, right? But if you hold it long enough, you'll end up in a gas station on the side of the road, right? With even if you have to. So the analogy is, ideally you want to get in a relationship with a hot girl you're attracted to, who has a great personality you love and enjoy, admire, and have a great relationship. You can talk to her about things and you really connect on all levels, sexually, emotionally, psychologically. But if that sexual need is deprived long enough, eventually you'll end up on that fat chick. You'll be the butt of that moped joke where I say fat chicks are great to ride. They're like mopeds, they're great to ride, but you don't want your friends catching you on one. So in that sense, men aren't able to get their sexual needs met because of this feminist environment. So it creates a situation where you have two things going on. You have women who want to get in a relationship with you with their natural instinct, but you have feminist philosophy, which is responsible for such books as The Rules, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, all these emasculated males and tyrannical women playing relationship games like, oh, wait, X amount of time before you call him back. Do this little thing to tease him, to want him to reciprocate. I mean, the way they view relationships, they think that you have a female brain. They're thinking that you as a guy, because of feminism has fucked women up so much, they view you as a female. Just like you view women from the guy's point of view. That's how they view you. They view you from the girl's point of view. So they're assigning all these female characteristics and female reasoning to you. They think that you respond to, like, this is typically why when women talk about their attractiveness, in a guy's mind, when guys look at attractiveness, they're going, do I like the shape of this chick's tits, right? They're pretty specific. Do I like her ass? Is her face hot? Do I want to fuck her? Do I want to make out with her? They're looking at that physical hotness, and then they consider, personality. Does she have this charming personality, etc.? So that kind of plays in later. But first, it's just this raw sexual attraction, right? Whereas women, when they talk about their attractiveness, do they say, my tits are X size, my ass is, is this tight, bubbly, round, or I'm cute compared to this girl? No, they immediately say, I'm educated. I make $500,000 a year. I work at this job. I have this many diplomas. I'm accomplished, right? They view attraction the way they're applying their criteria for attraction to you, how they would view you as attractive to them. Like, that's why, it's kind of silly for guys to be pulling off their shirts and, typical jokes that females make when they're making fun of males on MySpace or, dating sites. They'll say, yeah, I saw this guy with his shirt off flexing his muscles. He looks like a total idiot. And if you don't know female psychology and how women approach attraction, you do look like an idiot, basically, because you're selling what you like as a guy. You like the physical aspect of a woman, so you think she likes that in return. So immediately you emphasize the physical aspect. You take off your shirt, you work out, you pose, you think this is going to attract her. Just like as if a woman posed, in a bikini like women do on dating sites, or that attracts you. That draws your male attention. You're like, oh, I want that girl. I'm sexually attracted to her. Now I want to get in a relationship with her. So they think that you view it the same way. That's why they pull out the accomplishment notepad, the diplomas. They start waving the diplomas around. Look what university I graduated from. Look why I'm so successful. And then they wonder to themselves, why don't guys like me? I have it all. I have it all. I have success. I have it all. Because they have no fucking clue. That's not how men approach attraction. Men could give a fuck about whether you have 2 diplomas, 10 diplomas, or 20 diplomas. If you're 500 pounds, all the diplomas in the world are not going to hide your fat rolls. Just not going to happen.
So the way women apply this kind of female criteria to attraction to men, this is why they have this approach, because feminism has taught them that men are the same as women. Men are equal to women in function, which is the biggest fallacy out there, which is responsible for so many relationship problems. And one of these problems created is this new stalker phenomenon, quote, quote, stalker phenomenon, I should say. This is feminism demonizing male sexuality is a prime example. So typically you have men who are the pursuers, and the female instinct is, I want this man to pursue me. Men naturally pursue anyway, but women respond to that. They're like, I want a guy who pursues me, who likes me, who expresses interest in me, who's not afraid to say, hey, I'm interested in you, to lead, right? Women are submissive. They respond to you. That's their instinct. That's their nature. That's their design. That's according to their design. Everybody operates according to their design. If you're a watch, you're built to tell time. If you want to be a hammer and your design is a watch and you try to hammer things, you're going to break yourself. Your nice little watch face, your nice little watch hands, your delicate little watch hands, they're not designed for hammering things in. They're designed for telling time. Your design dictates your function. So as a man, your function is to lead a woman. Your function dictates that you have authority over a woman. As a woman, her function dictates that she submits to your authority. And this is not a competition. This is what feminists don't understand. This is not a competition. This is necessary to create a healthy relationship. When you have authority, leading, and you have people submitting to that authority, you have a happy relationship. It's just like the government. A prime example. The authority of the government causes you to submit, and they will enforce it on you with the police if you don't submit. Like, let's say stop sign, right? There's traffic lights, there's traffic laws, there's stop signs, there's speed limits, right? Those are all designed to limit you. The state has authority over your driving, how you drive. You have to submit to the state. You are under the state's control. But you don't look at submission as bad because, see, you're happy with that submission. When people don't drive 200 miles an hour, people don't end up like human pancakes all over the road, splattered all over the road. So those laws are designed to protect you. In the same way, male authority is designed to protect females. The government, just in like manner, the government has control over its citizens because that's necessary to protect them. That's why people have to obey the police, not because the police are just inherently bullies, but they have a job, they have an obligation to protect the other citizens. So, like, if let's say you're committing a crime, they have an obligation to protect all the citizens that the citizens have willingly submitted to that government in exchange for that protection. So the police are bound by that obligation to arrest you if you're committing a crime, and they see it because they're bound to meet that obligation and protect its citizens. So that authority comes with responsibility. Like we always joke around in class, with great authority comes greatest responsibility, just like, Spider-Man, the classic line in Spider-Man film. As a guy, you're Spider-Man. You're responsible for those under your authority. So this means, like, with women, you're responsible for the women that are submitting to you. You have to act responsibly with that authority. That authority is not to just say, hey, I'm in charge, look what I can do. But because that's exactly how women look at it. Women look at being in charge as, hey, I get privileges, I get benefits, I get fringe benefits, I get into day spas, I get to be in charge, I get to call the shots, right? They look at being in charge as a, they won the lotto. When in reality, being in charge comes at a heavy cost. It comes at a heavy price. Like, if you're in charge, back in the olden days, it was women and children first off the boats, off the Titanic, right? Why was that? Because men were obligated to protect women. That authority came with an inherent obligation. They were in charge of protecting women with that authority. So the extreme extent of that was they had to sacrifice their lives if necessary to protect those women and children. That is the burden of authority. That is not like a prize that you win. That's a responsibility. That's a heavy responsibility that you carry. Sure, you get to be in charge and make the decisions, but again, there's a cost you have to pay. There's a price you have to pay. And that's also why men are in charge. They're the only ones that have the natural capacity to pay that cost. They're the ones with the physical power, the strength to build things. They have to take on that responsibility. They're the ones with the mental capacity to design things, invent things for society, to help you out, to help women out, to protect women. They have the strength to protect women from trouble, from danger. So that their design dictates that they have to have authority in order to care for those under their authority. It's because of their design. So let's get back. We're skipping all around because this is all connected, but I'm going to try and cover this. So we got the teenage stalker here. Andrew WK was a teenage stalker. That's the title of this article. So we have two conditions created. You have the instinctual response where women want you to lead and pursue, but then you have the feminist response, which is I need to be in charge. I need to control men. In order to get what I want, feminists think that the way to do this is to compete for male authority. So one of the most effective ways to do that is to demonize male sexuality because they figure, look, if I have the vagina, I control you. Masculine males experience this all the time. They want pussy. They want to get their sexual needs met. So they think the only way I'm going to get this need met is if I give in to her demands. This is just like if you have a starving man and you tell him, look, you want this food? You better do what I say. You better crawl on your belly to get this cracker. And men will literally start crawling on their bellies figuratively crawl on their bellies in the quest to appease women to get that vagina. So this is the situation we have today. And so now male sexuality is demonized to the point that, look at this, women want you to pursue. So on one hand, they fault you if you don't pursue. But then if you pursue too much, or if you don't pursue at the right time, or if you pursue in a certain way that for what woman considers romantic pursuit, another considers stalking. So they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to control your sexuality, but yet they also want you to respond in the normal way you normally would. If you were attracted to a woman, you'd pursue her. That would be a natural thing. You would naturally, quote, quote, stalk her. But women have turned this male sexuality into such a shameful thing that men are now policing themselves. Emasculated males are now looking at themselves and thinking, am I stalking this girl? I like this girl, but am I stalking her? Do I, they become so neurotic about their behavior that they become people pleasers. They become deferential to anything a woman does, which is, again, is another irony because women are attracted to men who lead. Women get wet when you lead, but one of the commonest complaints we got on camera is women hate the emasculated male. They hate the guy who can't make the decision, who can't lead them, who can't decide anything. But that's what they've created. Feminism has dictated that you become an emasculated male. You need to follow certain feminist laws, or be careful, or else, other emasculated males will throw you in jail if you don't follow these laws. So you become a neurotic guy. You walk on eggshells now around women because you don't want to do the right thing. You don't want women running to the state, which has become their papa, right? They run to papa and say, look what this mean man did to me. Look, this creepy guy, he stalked me. Look what he did. Throw him in jail, right? So women use other emasculated males to spread this emasculation around, to keep you in check, to keep authority over you, to take your authority, to take your male authority. So here we have this article that basically epitomizes it. You see it all the time. The creepy guy, the stalker, the behavior. This is what happens when you let women reason on their own without male guidance. They just come up with all these fucked up conclusions. Like, it's just jump on the bandwagon now. It's like, this is a creepy guy. Look what he's doing. And if you just change the context and you make it a romantic context, it just changes. The women don't even realize it. It's now, oh, this guy's doting on me. He cared about me. He brought flowers. Da, da, da. But guess what? If she doesn't like you and you bring flowers, oh my God, this creepy guy bought flowers to my work, right? He was thinking of me. He was watching me. It's just become ridiculous. But women just cannot grasp this. They don't have the mental capacity to connect the dots here. So they don't realize that they've shot themselves in the foot in the dating game, and they've created emasculated males like you who will just jump through hoops in the vain hope of getting pussy. And the other ironic thing is, the more you jump through hoops, the less likely are you to get pussy. Because, again, women are not attracted to emasculated males. You basically try to usurp the female function. You basically become the submissive female. And as a man, that's an abuse of your function. And when you abuse your function, you're not able to create order. And if you can't create order, you're not going to be attractive to a female. Because females, like you, respond to order. You're attracted to order. She's attracted to order. When you become a female in function, you're disorderly. You're no longer attractive. When you become deferential and make her lead and make her make all the decisions, what do you want to do? I want to do whatever you want to do. Oh yeah, is this okay if I had this complaint with this girl? She said I was dating her, and this guy asked her out, and he said, I want to go dancing with you. But if you want to go dancing with your friends, that's perfectly fine. That's okay. That's totally cool with me. So basically, he's already shooting himself down. He's already, he's already basically letting her know, I'm not as valuable as you. I'm not as important as you. My expectations don't matter at all. So what you think of me, that's exactly what I'm worth. He's basically telling her he can't create order. So what is that letting her know? That he's not attractive. Women don't want men who can't create order. All right, let's get to it. Let's start on the ebook. I think that's long enough. I'm going forever here. Okay, so let's start with a cover. Principles 101. Feminism, Manhood, and You. Why did we decide on this cover of 3 hands? Well, we wanted a little snappy cover that would get some attention, but we were thinking, what would work here? What do we want to convey? Feminism, Manhood, and You. And so you can see all these words, these common phrases. We wanted to basically create the feminist environment on this cover. It's full of confusion. It's full of words like, it's full of male concerns, male issues, and it's full of obstacles. You see emasculation, you see cunts, you see society, you see felons, you see authority, you see single mothers, you see dysfunctional, you see attraction, you see nice guy, you see asshole, you see equality, you see mangina, you see loser, you see divorce, alimony, all the issues, symptoms, and causes that create feminism and allow it to be perpetuated. You see the demonization of men in titles like pedophile and creep and rapist and misogynist. You see archaic roles that feminism has exterminated, such as chivalry, the gentleman. You see games here referring to dating games, lawsuits, the feminist culture of abusing the legal system, bitch, mangina, alimony, divorce, so all these issues. So we got manhood on the finger, kind of pointing out this is the direction to go. You're caught in the middle, you're the thumb for whatever reason. And then feminism, we're giving the big middle finger to, so we put feminism on the middle finger. Okay, let's skip over the restriction on use, dedication, blah, blah, blah. Table of contents, skip past that. And we'll get right to the warning. Here we go. This book is not designed to make you feel better. When feeling good takes precedence over telling the truth, people inevitably end up preserving their self-esteem at the cost of their welfare. And this is a huge concept we talk about in the book. Exposing dysfunction. People protecting their self-esteem at the cost of the truth. People wanting to hide from their dysfunction because they're worried about being exposed rather than getting somewhere, than progressing, than understanding why their problems persist. They'd rather be comfortable than find a solution. Common theme. We'll cover that in more depth in preceding chapters. Today, a majority of mental health experts, quote, experts, advocate this type of feel-good approach to self-discovery. As a result, society has become increasingly adverse to any critical examination of its behavior. This causes the average person to unconsciously devise ways to hide his dysfunctional behavior. Political correctness is one of the most pervasive forms of these self-defense mechanisms. So, what a refreshing drink of water mixed with shake mix. I got an old shake in this cup, and it looks like basically like a septic tank in my glass here. Old shake mix with water poured straight in. Delicious. Okay, so basically you have this environment of political correctness and all these self-defense. It's just one of the self-defense mechanisms. And these self-defense mechanisms crop up when people try to preserve their dysfunction because they don't want to be exposed. Change hurts, so this is a common theme. People want to protect their dysfunction. So basically honest analysis becomes impossible under this feminist system. It's like two of the recommended reading books cover this theme. 1984 and Animal Farm, both written by George Orwell, talk about how society is controlled by the terms that we allow others to use. Like today, feminism has demonized terms. They've advocated certain terms like douchebag, creep, loser, dork, that refer to men. They're perfectly free to demonize men. If you're a woman or an emasculated male, you're perfectly free to demonize yourself or other males. But try and call a girl a bitch or a cunt or a whore or a slut. All descriptive terms, they all denote something. They may be vulgar, but they have a kernel of truth because they're referring to a certain type of woman in each case, right? And to a certain type of degree. But these terms, what do feminists say about these terms? You're being mean to me. You're being misogynistic. You hate women. Da da da. If you hate women when you use these terms, you can never diagnose the problem. You ever notice that? If there's no such thing as a bitch, or if a bitch means, if I call a girl a bitch, and I and that's equated with hatred of that woman, then anytime I use the term bitch, the problem is discounted. The problem is erased. The problem is never addressed. It's just hidden. So if the problem is always hidden, it can never be solved. And that's basically what feminism does. It doesn't allow you to address the problem. You're perpetually justifying your own position, but never ever addressing the problem. And that's really the danger of what Orwell was talking about in 1984. When you control the language, you control what types of thoughts, what types of concepts people are allowed to consider. You notice feminism isn't critically examined like douchebaggery or male behavior, or how many resources, hours and attention has been focused on problems seemingly created by males, like the prison population and things like that, dominated by males. But do we point at the root? Do we point at single mothers who produce the majority of felons behind bars? No. That examination is not allowed by feminists. That examination is not allowed by society because it's demonized automatically as hatred of women. So if you demonize concepts and language, you don't allow critical thinking. You basically create an environment of intellectual dishonesty. And that's why women, not only are they handicapped by their retarded mental reasoning capacity, but they also are hampered by the feminist ideology, which says exposing dysfunction is bad. It's evil. If you have a problem, it must be a man's fault. If he points a finger at you, it's not about examining your own defects or character flaws or dysfunction. It's about his hatred for your gender. So women always turn the argument into misogyny, hatred of your gender. It's just a common reflex. Like half the women using the term, they couldn't even fucking tell you what misogyny means or what a chauvinist is. They just throw that term out haphazardly. You ask them, well, it means you hate me or something. They don't even know what to say. They just hear other women using that term in a certain context if they feel attacked, and they just reason, okay, if I feel attacked throughout this term, misogyny, chauvinist, pig, etc., right? So women have been conditioned to hide all dysfunction and to attack those with this type of demonizing, vilifying, shaming tactic, this type of argument, if you even try to address that dysfunction. And unfortunately, that even affects the way men, when they're trying to escape their own emasculation, this type of reasoning has infected them to the point where they are apprehensive. We have students in our class who are just like, it's like pulling teeth, getting them to look at their own problems they're creating themselves. Bogler, classic example. One of our worst students, who's, by the way, just got a girl's number, is doing awesome after such a long time. But the reason why he's taken so long in our program, and where other students have succeeded at a much faster rate, because he hasn't been able to face his own dysfunction. He's so quick to just blame other guys that, it's your fault that I lost my temper. It's your fault that I'm not getting girls. It's your fault, Professor Plum, that I'm not succeeding in the program. This is just to deny the dysfunction. Deny, distort. And so this creates a problem. But he's come a long way now, and he's realized, I'm creating the problems. I'm the dysfunctional one here. I'm the disorderly one. And when you start becoming responsible for your actions, for your behavior, this allows you to address those distortions, address that dysfunctional behavior, and finally solve that problem. But if that's never even pointed out, how can it ever be solved? This is a classic problem with the seduction community, that the same problem they face. They're never able to point to their own dysfunctional behavior as the problem. They assume that women are naturally bitches. They assume that bitch behavior is just a given. It's part of female design, when they don't realize that it's a cultural thing. It's a result of the feminist philosophy affecting these women. They just think women naturally are bitches. You just have to adapt to that. You just have to find some kind of gimmick or technique to address this, and that's what guys do. They come up with these silly opening lines. They think, if I just come up with a right cool opening line, this girl's going to love me. She's going to fall in love with me. They just have no fucking clue what they're doing. They just have no clue that they are perpetuating the problem. Their emasculation is causing them to address the problem this way. They're adapting to feminism. They're adapting to the problem. They're not solving the problem. They're only creating more problems for themselves. And that's commonly why, getting a woman into bed is relatively easy compared to keeping her happy. That's if you don't understand authority. If you understand authority, it simplifies everything. Keeping her happy is very simple. But because these pickup artists in the seduction community don't understand authority, and how it's used to create order and ultimately create attraction as a byproduct of that order, they create problems for themselves. So now, if they get a woman into bed, great, they got a woman emotionally excited, but that woman is not going to stick around if she does not respect that pickup artist. And these guys don't know how to enforce their authority, so those women have no respect for them. Ultimately, they just fall out of quote love with them. They're attracted initially, sleep with them maybe, and then easily gone the next day. No emotional attachment, no emotional investment. Again, if you can't exercise authority over women, you can't say no to women, the emotional investment from women will be very weak and very susceptible to outside influences. Like if a guy like me was to come around and you were dating your girlfriend for 5 years and exercising no authority at all, it would be much easier to quote steal her away from you, because that authority is attractive. If she's been with a masculated male for so long and a guy who knows how to exercise authority comes along, your relationships, it's already in trouble from the start because you don't know how to exercise authority, but a guy like me coming along will just expose that problem. But if you're able to exercise authority properly over women and create attraction with her, a deeper bond is created. A love it becomes a necessity. It's a necessary love that's created. And even if a guy like me comes along who knows how to exercise authority, if you properly exercise authority, you should have no problems with me. There shouldn't be a worry having me around, your girlfriend or your wife, because she's going to be attracted to your capacity, your ability to create order already through your own exercise of authority. So that's the opening. Then we get, whoa, scary picture of two fat chicks here. Why did we put that in? Oh, V Magazine introduces fat models in its upcoming fat acceptance issue. Yeah. So here we see the feminist culture is the professional victim culture. It creates acceptance of dysfunction. So instead of women addressing their own dysfunction, the easiest thing for them to do is distort it and hide from it. Instead of saying, maybe I should put the fork down. Maybe I shouldn't weigh 300 pounds. Maybe that's abnormal. I say, you know what? Let's turn around. Let's turn this all around into positive. Let's start inventing organizations like the Fat Acceptance Organization. Go ahead and be obese in public, no problem. We're going to accept you. Prime example of that is who's that celebrity, that new celebrity? Gabby Sidibe, I want to say. She's that humongous fat black chick with the arm fat. When you see it, you want to vomit. That chick. She's being shielded by feminists left and right. Oh my God, look how beautiful she is. She's so lovely, so charming. Meanwhile, guys are thinking, where's the nearest barf bag? I have to vomit. Seeing a woman that size, that obese size, is just disturbing. But again, because of this feminist culture, that dysfunction, that disorderly body condition is normalized, is accepted, is approved of. So women have no incentive to become thinner. Because if you're fat, hey, we're going to support you, sister, right? Oh, female logic at its finest. Oh, we had a sterling. Oh, I gotta get to this. We had a sterling example of female logic today, and that was a pit. I can't remember if it was a guy or a girl who came in the chat room, and we basically said, we basically made the case that men invented civilization. Men made some of the most profound, important inventions you'll see throughout history, right? The computer you're using, Google, everything, any kind of thing you can look at, any major, the car, any major mode of transportation, any major tool that you're using is most likely created or invented by a man. And this guy said, hey, or this girl, I forget which, went on Google and found a list of female inventions. And again, this is a prime example of female reasoning. They figure, let's look at the first invention. Alphabet blocks, ABC blocks, 1882, Adeline D.T. Whitney. First of all, if I was a man, I would kill myself if they listed alphabet blocks as an invention. I would be embarrassed to say I invented alphabet blocks. To classify this, women will take this and technically go, look, they'll count this as a tally mark. Look, this is invention number 1 for women, alphabet blocks. And they'll tally everything. So at the end, the women will look at the stats. They'll look, men may have invented 90% of everything, but we invented 10% of things. But these are things that men could have invented in their sleep, or they could have invented if they weren't busy inventing rocket ships or, civilizations, right? Buildings, things like that. Useful things. Instead, we're talking about ABC blocks. And, lo and behold, another Famous invention, 1930, the chocolate chip cookie. Again, something a man could have invented by accident. I'm sure he was carrying dough home from the grocery store and he fell into a vat of chocolate chips. He would have said, look, I know I just created chocolate chips, but I would be too fucking embarrassed to actually patent this or to claim this as some kind of valid invention. The disposable diaper, the fire escape. Are you fucking kidding me? The fire escape. Okay, let's look at that. What is a fire escape? It's like a box on the back of your house with a metal ladder so you can get out. Is that seriously a female invention? You gotta be joking me. Globes. Globes. Is this referring to snow globes or actual round globes where they put maps on? Oh my God. An ironing board. Here's the invention, the ironing board. What was the thought process here? You got a piece of wood, you bring it home, and you know what? My husband's clothes. We're screwing around with this invention in the chat room. My husband's clothes are just aren't being ironed straight. I keep ironing them over the ABC blocks and the chocolate chip cookies I invented, but they just come out all wrinkled. Perhaps if I iron them on something flat with rounded edges, lo and behold, the ironing board is invented. Amazing. The life raft, the rolling pin, the paper bag making, these inventions. The locomotive chimney, the round thing on top of a train, the windshield wiper, unfucking believable. Okay, so as you can see, female inventions. I don't even need to go through the list of male inventions. That you can do it yourself. You compare these side by side. It's like comparing a crayon to a microscope. It's just silliness. Okay, so let's move on in the book here. Okay, so let's skip over to what is manhood. Today, especially today, people have the most ridiculous views of manhood. When you ask a guy what manhood is, he's going to tell you working out, getting buff, being a strong guy, be yourself, be confident. He's going to throw out all these cliches, right, of what a real man is, a Marlboro man. These are just caricatures of manhood. Nothing to do with manhood. So today's self-help culture compounds the problem by flooding men with soundbite solutions and sexist dating guides catering to women, blah, blah, blah. So let's see here. Instead of fixing flaws, got that. Okay, so we got popular depictions of manhood. James Dean, caricatures of cool. Like men are cool, say cool things, drive cool sports cars. You also have the popular trailer park depiction of guys in dirty wife beaters saying, you better get me a beer, right? They're just, do-de-do-de-do, just retarded guys, Gomer Pyle, incompetent hillbillies. Then we have, what other types of males do we have? So basically these kinds of, either machismo or incompetence, toughness, it's a variety of cultural definitions to talk about manhood. But these are all just, these are all basically, just definitions based on culture. Manhood, it does not merely describe one's physical prowess, nor does it represent a misogynistic declaration of gender superiority. It is neither a rite of passage nor a coming-of-age ritual, as some like to think. Like if you do a certain thing, you've entered manhood. If you hunted an animal, or, certain cultures have there's this one culture you jump off vines tied to your ankles, and you head towards the ground with your head, and if you don't die, you're a man. Silly rituals like that. Again, manhood not meant to threaten women or divide men into competing social classes. Simply put, your manhood is your authority, your ability to create order. Again, dictated by your function, dictated by your design. Your function, your manhood, your authority is dictated by your design. So when your manhood is basically saying you're functioning properly. It's a shorthand way of saying you're functioning properly. If you have manhood, you are exercising authority properly. So we'll get into that. Weeding out sentimental jargon. Again, all the misunderstandings. Blah, blah, blah. We'll skip over that. Part 1, identifying the problem. What is feminism? Okay, we had this question today in the chat room too. Feminism is misunderstood as just, it's commonly associated with women burning their bras. And I don't even know if that story is true. It's a common It's a common picture that depicts feminism as women, burning their bras in protest. We want equal rights. We want to vote, da da da. So the political arm of feminism in the 60s and 70s is kind of where people think feminism actually started. But this is wrong. This is just pointing to the historical, the political aspect of feminism. This is not feminine. This is not the principle of feminism. This is not the concept behind feminism. Feminism is basically, it's when women are trying to usurp the authority of men in principle. So any time in history, so feminism has been around from the smallest fight in your kitchen to the largest political movement where women are demanding, we want to vote, right? Either of these things where women are trying to take male authority can be considered feminism. So you have a political aspect, and then you have its inherent principle. And it's very common to confuse the two. So we got to clarify this so people can understand that throughout history, there have been instances of feminist philosophy, feminist thought, feminist action, feminist behavior, whenever basically women are competing for male authority. They're trying to abuse their function. They're trying to leave their functional submission and usurp male authority and become dysfunctional with that authority. And you see the problems associated with that throughout history when that has happened. Okay, so we give example of let's see, the key to feminist misunderstanding can be the key feminist misunderstanding of, let's see, what did I say before that? But this faulty rationale. On the surface, the modern feminist movement purports to protect the rights of women from male oppression. So their assumption is when men are in charge, they use that authority for oppression. Authority is designed for oppression. That's their assumption. So they associate themselves with blah, blah, blah. But this faulty rationale fails to recognize the difference between unjust oppression and healthy gender restriction. So they're comparing being oppressed with, for instance, blacks being oppressed during the time of slavery back in the 1800s. So they're saying that oppression is the same oppression we're experiencing today, which is not the case. They're confusing the limitation of their design, limiting gender, basically. We're speaking about limiting a gender's job responsibilities based on their natural capacity, just as women today, for example, they want to be soldiers, they want to be firefighters, they want to have access to the police department, they want to have those jobs, but they don't have the natural capacity to meet the demands of those jobs. So they're creating a dangerous situation for our entire society, because if you have a soldier, a male and a female soldier, generally speaking, that male soldier has a greater capacity than that female soldier. And you're going to put that just for the sake of quote, quote, equality, if you're going to put that woman in place of that male soldier just to fulfill some gender quota, you're creating a dangerous situation for society. This is no different than having a child say, you know what, in order to be equal to an adult, I have to be allowed to drive. So unless you allow me to drive, you're being unfair, you're not being just. But how dangerous a situation would it be if a child was allowed to drive? And that's exactly the situation we have today. You're having irresponsible women not realizing the danger they put other people in. They're so self-absorbed and and self-serving. They're only concerned with their own self-interest due to feminism. They don't consider that they're putting other people's lives at danger. Some small woman is thinking she's just going to lift some 180 pound guy, 200 pound guy out of a burning building, or being able to handle the physical demands of that job. Even if a woman is qualified, there's a man who's better qualified than her to do that job. So, they're creating a dangerous situation not only for themselves but for society, who has to basically accept that fire woman. They don't have the choice. She's taken that job away from a man who deserves it more than her, who actually merits it, and so now everybody's lives are put at jeopardy. Same with soldiering on the field. You're on the field of battle when men are putting everyone around them in jeopardy. Jessica Lynch, classic example. Now, not only do soldiers have to fight the battle to win, they got to protect the women in their unit. It's a totally different story now. Okay, so this faulty rationale, blah blah blah. Okay, so children-like insight. Skip over that. Skip over that. A lot of these things you can see, you can read about in the Weeder course. Of course, you can read them in the ebook here, but we cover a lot about feminism. We covered the term bitch, why we use the term bitch. I think we even covered that in the last podcast. Let's skip that. How feminism affects society, an attitude of entitlement. This is also a huge problem with feminism, is that it creates this attitude of entitlement, like women feel entitled to things that men have had to earn, classically had to earn. Perfect example would be, again, military. Standards are lowered for women. They feel like they should get that job, but in reality, they've lowered the standards to accommodate women. Women feel entitled to things. Women feel entitled to your time, your money, your attention. Especially in dating, women feel like, hey, I deserve your money. You need to pay for me on this date. I deserve it. You need to do this for me. I deserve it. No thought of reciprocation. It's just I'm entitled to. Here we go. Here's a great quote by Alex de Tocqueville from Democracy in America. Equality is a slogan based on envy. It signifies in the heart of every Republican, nobody is going to occupy a place higher than I. There is, in fact, a manly and lawful passion for equality which excites men to wish all to be powerful and honored. This passion tends to elevate the humble to the rank of the great. But there exists also in the human heart a depraved taste for equality which impels the weak to attempt to lower the powerful to their own level and reduces men to prefer equality in slavery to inequality with freedom. So basically he's getting the gist of the argument that we're not equal in function. Men have a greater capacity not to compete with women, but again, to fulfill their function, to care for women. And women are submissive in their natural capacity, according to their design, to meet the needs of men. These functions, these specific and distinct gender functions that men and women both fulfill, are designed to complement each other, not compete with each other. And that's where the problems come when the weak attempt to lower the powerful to their own level, when women attempt to emasculate men to bring them down to their own level, they think they're serving the interests of women when they're really hurting both men and women. So men are bombarded daily with deceptive euphemisms like gender equality and social diversity, but beneath this facade of feel-good human rights sentiments and moral political posturing lies an ugly truth. Feminism trains women to feel they unilaterally deserve what men have earned. Women don't understand that men have authority, but they also have responsibility. Look at the wage gap argument. It's a classic example of irresponsible arguing by women. Men make more because they work in the most dangerous jobs, the longest hours. They're shackled with this responsibility. They have to. They're the only ones with the physical capacity to go into coal mines, to be policemen, to put their lives in danger, to break open burning buildings, to do all these things. To soldiers on the field of battle, sacrificing their lives for women. They have the capacity. That's why these jobs demand that men do them. That's why these occupations are suited towards male prowess. Just like selective service, where men are obligated to sign up for the draft for military service. That's according to men because they have the greater capacity. They have the authority, the natural capacity to exercise authority. So they're burdened. They have to sign up for the military. That's why we have selective service for men and not for women. This just reflects, again, that men have this capacity that women don't have. And again, it's not to compete with women. It's to complement women's function, their submissive function. It's to meet their needs. Just as the government can only meet the needs of the citizens if the citizens submit to the laws, rules, and regulations of that government, which are designed, again, to benefit them, to give them protection. Just like a prime example would be the recent terrorist scare, right? The airports. You got to scan everybody for 2 hours now. Instead, it used to just zip on and get on your flight, but now you got to sacrifice your time. Why do we do that? Why do we sacrifice our freedom of movement to go to where we want to go? Why do we have extra guys scanning? We got dogs sniffing. We have regulations. It takes 3 hours to board a plane because everybody's got to check your luggage twice, make sure there's no bombs on it. Why do we do that? Why do we sacrifice and do all this? For protection. The government is obligated to protect us because we agree to submit to it. That's why we do it. It's a reciprocal relationship. We don't just sacrifice and the government is supposed to abuse us. They're supposed to give us something in return. That in return they're giving us is protection, or representing our interests, or meeting our needs. Of course, governments have their own problems, but I'm just talking about ideally, or in their concept and in their inherent nature, what they're designed to do. Functioning government. Of course, we have a dysfunctional government, not serving everybody's needs. Feminism certainly isn't serving either gender's needs. But again, I'm talking about the functional concept of a government. where it's serving the interests of its citizens that are submitting to it. To women, leadership merely translates into a position rife with fringe benefits. Another problem with authority, when women view authority, they view men being in charge and say they don't see the responsibility aspect. They just see the fringe benefits. Oh, you get to decide. You get to do this. You get to do that. I want to do that. They don't realize the huge burden that comes along with it. Okay, so I'll skip down a little bit. And women are shielded. Another heading, women are shielded from sexual accountability. Another problem created by feminism is accountability is gone in all areas, even sexual accountability. Women want to be thought of as strong and independent. That's a common slogan from feminists. I'm strong and independent. I can do it. I don't need a man's help, right? I'm strong and independent. But what do we see in actual practice? Women, without fail, jump on that professional victim bandwagon like it's the hottest thing in town. There was a recent article about prison guards, female prison guards, who were, quote, quote, seduced by a male prisoner, a guy behind bars, and they claimed they were the victims. They have all the power. This guy's behind bars. They're prison guards. Yet somehow they were the victim of his enticements, his charm. This is just a prime example of women when the chips are down and responsibility comes into question. Who's accountable? I didn't do anything. I was a victim. This man behind bars seduced me. I'm not accountable for my actions. But yet, hypocritically, women want to be considered just as strong, competent, and capable and equal to men in their functional capacity to wield authority, right? But how can they when time and time again they want to play both sides of the fence? Women are just creatures of convenience thanks to feminism. They want to be strong and independent and do their own thing and have their own freedoms just like men have, but yet they don't want any accountability. When it comes to accountability, sexual accountability especially, they want to blame men. Oh, I don't like sex. That man made me do it. I don't know how this cock ended up in my mouth. This man put it there. I didn't want it, obviously. I'm not responsible for my actions. I'm just this helpless, weak female who's a victim, right? In every sense of the word, they're the victim. But how can they be responsible? How can they expect men to take them seriously when every chance they get to take themselves seriously, they play the victim role? It just doesn't happen. This hypocritical approach is it's just too blatant to ignore. It's just too glaring a defect. So when women try to use this approach, it further causes resentment from emasculated males. And we'll even get into the rape culture created by feminism later. That's one of the posts we have on the forum. So if you want to skip ahead, you can go ahead and read that. Let's see. Well, yeah, let's skip ahead here. Oh, here's a big one. Here's a classic example. I hate this bitch, Amelia McDonald Perry. She is one of the major man bashers who contributes articles to CNN. Again, I'm sorry, I need to clarify because I need to be more responsible here. But we need to, it's, what we hate here is the bitch behavior, not Amelia herself. As a woman, if she's fulfilling her function, she's very valuable and useful to a man, to society at large. But because she's been so influenced by feminism, we'll see here how she's a total hypocrite. Amelia was one of the people who wrote an article bashing Roman Polanski, the guy who, a famous case, maybe you don't know. He basically had sex with some underage girl and basically fled to France to avoid prosecution. So here we get the common feminist battle cry, pedophile, this guy's a sex offender, blah, blah, blah. So she's critiquing him. Meanwhile, because feminism blinds her to her own hypocrisy and allows her to play both sides of the fence, to have her cake and eat it too, she goes ahead. Here's the epitome of irony. You want to see irony? You're going to see her picture in the dictionary. 21 guys were ashamed to say we totally screw. So if given the opportunity, she would fuck these guys, right? Who are these guys? Well, two of them happen to be minors, Nick Jonas and Taylor Lautner. And this is back when they were actually minors. Of course, they've aged by now, but when this article was originally written, both in the minor category. And how do we know that? By her own words, she hangs herself. She says, the captions under their pictures, please don't take me to jail. It's a joke to her, right? Her showing sexual interest. She's going to fuck minors, basically advocating, that's statutory rape. So basically just advocating the rape of minors. She's saying, please don't take me to jail, like it's a joke. Imagine if a guy said, 15-year-old Miley Cyrus at the time, hey, I want to fuck that minor Miley Cyrus. Yeah, please don't take me to jail. What do you think would happen? The FBI would swoop in on his house, right? But as a woman, under feminism, she's allowed to be a total hypocrite. And what the funny thing is, when we brought this article originally up to their attention, feminists flocked to defend her and basically made all kinds of distortions and justifications, saying, oh, come on, let's sweep it under. She's joking, all these things. Nobody even dared to touch the argument. Nobody even dared to touch the hypocrisy of advocating sex with minors, rape of minors, and then complaining about Roman Polanski, like as if that's worse. She's actively advocating the rape of minors. Roman Polanski may have, had sex with this minor, but he's not going around saying, hey, it's a good idea, we should rape minors. She's doing that. She's saying, hey, it's okay. Here's guys, we're ashamed to say we'd screw. Let's go ahead and rape these minors. So, her other caption, and if I waited until he was legal, my shame would go away. Again, joking. Of course he's a minor, but I want to fuck him. No problem with that. I'm a woman. I should get my way under feminism. So her cavalier attitude is representative of women who feel no sexual consequences should apply to them in this feminist society. Since women are protected by their default victim status, they have virtually no legal reprisals to fear. They have no reason to be responsible. We haven't given women a reason, an incentive to be responsible. That's why we have so many false rape accusations today. And there's a blog I just found out about. It's called the False Rape Society. One of those men's rights activist blogs. But anyway, it talks about all kinds of false accusations. There's a recent one that, they're just, you couldn't write these stories. They're so ridiculous. This woman, I forget, she bribed or paid some, I don't remember. She bribed or paid some young girl to say, I think she bribed some young girl to say $100 to say that this boy raped her because she raped this boy. She had sex with a minor. So she raped this guy, and then she tried to pay some minor girl to say that she was raped by this guy so she could get out of trouble. The extent to how could you even think that you could do that and not and get away with it and not have it matter? Well, the only way she could is because she can get away with it, because the penalty for making a false rape accusation is so light, is so inconsequential. It's meaningless. It's like an ace up your sleeve if you're a woman. So, we have a nice graphic here. Made a correlation. Money equals sex. Means to provide and care is on one side of the equation. Caring, gratitude for that provision. Caring, sex. So men providing money, men providing basically resources. Money is just a means to get certain needs met. Physical needs, buying things, buying houses, buying necessities, food, and in exchange, they're getting sex. That's like an ideal exchange here. Money for sex. And I know people don't like to break it down. It sounds like a devious argument, but basically when you're simplifying it, you're saying money, the resources that men are providing, they're providing it to get sex. When this dopey guy spends $100 on this chick, taking her out to dinner, he's not doing it for other guys. He's not doing it for his buddies, saying, "Hey, come on, buddy, let's go have a bromance and get some lobster and some wine." Why is he not doing it with guys? Because guys can't meet his sexual need. Well, they could, but he wants to get that need met by a woman. So he's shelling out that cash, hoping to get laid. So we have a perfect picture of an exchange. Men are providing care in the form of money, which is just basically a means. They're providing the means to get the sex. They're doing what's necessary to make women's life easier so that they can get their needs met, which is one of the major needs for men is sex from women. Feminism, and then under that we have feminism equals fraud. We basically have a one-way street. We have all the means, all the money, all the attention, all the effort. Men are doing all these things for women, but no sexual reciprocation. Just a thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the free food. Thanks for the free lobster. Thanks very much. So women today have this unfair sexual advantage. Thanks to feminism, thanks to the feminist laws, thanks to emasculated males, they've created a sexual climate where They can demonize your sexuality to control you. They have the bargaining chip. You've maybe seen a joking shirt that says, "Because I have the pussy, I make the rules." Well, there's a little kernel of truth in that. Because feminists have emasculated men by the balls, the same emasculated men who become judges, lawyers, politicians, and set policies and create laws and legislation that enforce the feminist agenda. They do have these men by the balls. They do make the rules because of that vagina. Because men are just desperately hoping, those emasculated men, oh, I have to get my sexual needs met. So if they can't get them met from a woman, they got to go to a hooker. But guess what? Prostitution, illegal. So now who controls all the cards? Women. So if you want to get sex, you got to do what a woman tells you to do. So emasculated men have really shot themselves in the foot and put themselves in this position where it's an uphill battle now. They gotta find a way to regain their authority. Thankfully, we got manhoodacademy.com. Where you can hear more of our podcast. I'm going to go ahead and stop it right here. It feels like forever to be going on. Without the dice at my side, I feel like I'm naked on the podcast, but we got to trudge on. We got to get through it. And hopefully we'll get through more of this book. And I'll even want to cover even some of the forum. I want to start exploring the forum a little bit and take you on a tour of our forum. Meet some of the members, my views of the members and their postings. And we'll cover a lot more stuff on future podcasts. So hope you tune in. Hope this was a little better than the last one, but we'll see. It might have been a little drier, but hopefully you got something out of it. We'll see you next time.